UFC 287 is in the bag. We had some incredibly exciting fights. Mark and I are going to go over the fallout of the card. But before we do that, if you're brand new here, make sure you subscribe as we have brand new videos every single week. So we start with the main event. Izzy knocked out Alex Pereira in the second round, and it was an amazing moment. Mark, how did you feel when Izzy got that second round knockout?
I think the live stream speaks for itself, to be honest, Dwain. It was revenge is a dish best served cold. It was clean out as well. You can't argue that. I think it was because it was the first right hand did it. The second one, he didn't get all of it. And then there was an unanswered shot on the floor, a hammer fist to the face, which didn't really need to happen. But Israel Adesanya has now reclaimed his throne as the middleweight king. There's no doubt about it now, is there? There is no doubt. They both said they don't want to fight each other again. It's technically 3-1 to Alex, but in the UFC, maybe in the future, third fight. But for now, let's just relish this moment, Dwain. What an amazing knockout. Israel Adesanya is back.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It feels as though both of them have said, this is the last fight. And of course, it's one apiece in UFC. I don't think their kickboxing record should really play into this. But do you think that they'll ever fight again? I'm maybe down the line, but I don't think anytime soon.
Maybe down the line, but like we were saying in the live stream, like as a greedy fan, they're still in the cage. Alex is still seeing stars. And I'm thinking, what's next? Well, what's next for both of them? You know, because does Alex fight, you know, Robert Whittaker or something? But then who does Izzy fight? He's beat everyone else. So I think maybe down the line, there's always going to be that UFC trilogy in the bag, ready and waiting. It's always going to be in the bank, just ready to cash in whenever they fancy it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, what could be interesting is if Alex does go up to light heavyweight, and if he can manage to get a title there, we can see Izzy versus Alex again for a second belt in a different division, which I think will be incredibly exciting to see. But how did you sort of feel about Izzy's counter striking? I feel like he just seems so calm and collected in this fight, and I was shocked when he got that second round knockout. Even though I predicted it, I did say I think he's going to get an early finish. It still took me by surprise.
Well, honestly, right before that knockout happened, do you remember Izzy was up against the fence and Alex was landing some shots? He landed a big knee as well. Maybe he didn't get all of it. I thought, oh, get away from the fence, Izzy. This is what happened last time. But look at that counter strike. Amazing. Like, this was one of them fights where we were sucking in through the teeth every single shot they threw because it could have ended any second. Evidently, it did.
And then we had the co-main event with Jorge Masvidal versus Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns got the decision win, but it felt like he could have won in any way he wanted in this fight. Mark, how did you feel about Masvidal's performance in this fight? Because I felt he looked very old and very tired, and he just didn't seem to have much for Burns at all.
Yeah, the first round, I think it was competitive. You know, Jorge was landing a lot of leg kicks, that kind of thing. The second round, Gilbert held him to the floor. I mean, Masvidal did well, but you know it's not going your way when you're talking about, oh, he's doing well to remain on the floor and get up a couple of times. But yeah, by the third round, Gilbert could land anything he wanted pretty much. You know, his fists couldn't miss. Masvidal, you know, he can pull all the faces he wants, but I mean, Gilbert was landing. I love both fighters, but I must admit, I was broken a little bit. I was anticipating a Masvidal knockout.
Yeah, well, that's what we both was. That's what I predicted. I think I don't know what you predicted in the actual prediction video, but I thought that Jorge was going to get a knockout here. I thought he could lure Burns into a firefight, and that just didn't happen. Burns just stayed calm and collected, and he knew what to do because, like we said going into this, he had all the tools to win, and he used all those tools. He was winning the striking, he was winning the grappling. There was nothing there from Masvidal. Unfortunately, Masvidal's one chance was in that first round, and he just didn't take it, and it's such a shame. I wish he'd have come out that first round and really gone for it.
I mean, all roads seemed like they were heading in the direction of this being Gamebred's last outing. I mean, I don't think he said it in particular, but if this is the last time we see George Masvidal in the octagon, I'm sure myself and many other fans are just, you know, grateful to see his career span over 20 years. We've got highlight reel knockouts. We've got obviously the infamous quickest knockout ever in UFC history. And, you know, no one can thank him enough.
And then we have Adrian Yanez versus Rob Font. Rob Font managed to get this done in the first round, completely opposite to my predictions. I thought Yanez was going to really school Rob Font here, but Rob Font put on a real masterclass and got this really crazy first round knockout.
It was unreal. That fight was one of those where it could have ended any minute. I was the same as you. My prediction went straight out the window. Highlight real knockout. That right hand was money. And there was no disputing that. That was just an amazing win, wasn't it? You know, in the first round. I really was not expecting that. I gave Yanez the edge. I thought he'd take him into the deep waters and make Rob Font pay. But how many times have we eaten our words at Northernlights?
Yeah, definitely all the time. Because I'm the same. I thought we were going to get a big 3-round war, a big back and forth. And it was a total opposite. I think because Rob Font's had a couple of difficult outings recently, you kind of forget how good he is. And I think when these fighters come up and they try and fight this top level, it really shows them that maybe they're not quite ready for it yet. And Rob Font just uses his experience and his superior striking to get the job done. And then we have Kevin Holland versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. Mark, did you expect Kevin Holland to come and get this 3rd round knockout, or did you feel like it was going to be a big war?
I expected Kevin Holland to get the knockout, but earlier than this. I very much like the first round was very much like sort of feeling out. Kevin Holland seems to have really come into his own. He isn't he'll still trash talk, that kind of thing, but he isn't the big showboating machine, unpredictable wild man that he used to be, you know, maybe 3 years ago or something. Maybe them few losses for Kevin were really a molding experience because he came out, it was composed. Obviously, Santiago possesses a hell of a lot of power, but at first we thought that right hand, that it was a bit of an early stoppage, but you watch it back, clear cut, you know, head hit the floor. It was like Jake Roberts just give him a DDT and then one follow-up shot. That's enough for the referee to see.
Yeah, 100%. Like watching it live, I thought it was an early stoppage. I was like, what's going on here? Ponzinibbio only went down. When you watch it back, he was face planted on the floor, basically. He was just laid over, his head on the canvas. You know, what's he doing? Just grinding his head? No, he's knocked out, isn't he? If he'd have shelled up, maybe he could have said something, because Ponzinibbio did stand straight up and he did protest it, but it was on shaky legs, wasn't it? But yeah, I think you made such a good point there where Kevin Holland, he's come off these couple of losses and he seems to have really dialed it in and really focused. Do you think that huge reach advantage that Kevin Holland had just made it too difficult for Ponzinibbio to even do anything? Because it felt like he was losing every round anyway, even before that knockout came.
Yeah, I think because the reach advantage was ridiculous, wasn't it, for Kevin Holland? What's his reach? Like about 1,000 inches, something like that. But like he was sat there like Slender Man, throwing that jab. There all day for him. He utilized a lot of leg kicks as well, didn't he? And that looping hook that he gives, that kind of thing. I'm not so sure that it landed a lot, but that was one of them. If that lands, you know, it's like a bloody helicopter's blades, you know, like that's gonna land and it will take your head off. I mean, it sucks for Santiago, but Kevin Holland, I'm glad that there's a lot of recognition to his name now. He's not just a one and done. He had a good 2020. You know, I hope to see more of this kind of style fight where he's a little smarter than what he used to be. But, you know, time will tell.
Yeah, I agree. I think with Kevin Holland, he needs to keep fighting smart if he wants to be successful in this division. And then we open the card with Raul Rosas Jr. versus Christian Rodriguez. And we saw Raul's first loss in the UFC. Mark, did you expect Raul to lose at this point so early in his career?
No, I didn't. And we've spoke about this before in the sense of when there's that much hype behind him. He's 18 years old, you know, had a few fights in Contender Series. He won his debut fight in the UFC. So there's a big hype behind him. I thought they would give him someone who, you don't want to say that they pick fights and they choose, you know what I mean? They feed someone, but you'd think you don't want to kill this hype train straight away. Maybe it is just in the sense that, you know, he's still developing. He's 18 years old. A loss at this stage isn't necessarily, it's nowhere near the end of his days, is it? You know, but to be on the main card in your second official UFC fight, there's a lot of eyes on him already. He can recover from this.
Yeah, I agree. I think when he's having this first big fight on a main card, there's a lot of pressure on there, isn't there? But I think he can recover, and I really hope he can. Because when he came out in that first round, I kind of felt like that was it. You know, he got him down immediately. He kept threatening the submission attacks. You think, right, that's it, it's done. Did you think the same, Matt? Did you think Raul had it done in the first round?
Yeah, numerous times, to be honest. Like you said, he kept threatening it. He had great control. It was straight away. It was like a bat out of hell going for the takedown, wasn't it? Straight for the Peter, as someone once said on our live streams. And yeah, I thought that was it. But, you know, when we got into the second round, things were different.
Yeah, 100%. That second round was crazy. Christian Rodriguez really put his foot on the gas and he just dominated the rest of the fight. He was dominating the striking. He had great takedown defense. And because I was surprised that his takedown defense was so good because, like you were saying before, it felt like Christian Rodriguez was a cherry-picked opponent for Raul because Christian Rodriguez has been taken down so many times. He'd had loads of control time against him. So you thought the same was going to happen here. But Raul just unfortunately wasn't good enough. Do you think Raul will take a lot from this? Do you think he'll come back a better fighter or do you think it'll knock his confidence?
I think the ego will be left at the door, to be honest. After a loss like this, I mean, like I say, it wasn't a devastating loss. Wasn't like, you know, we've seen worse one-sided beatings. I think he's just going to take it on the chin, pardon the pun, and just move forward. Just do what he can, and you know, to formulate a better fighter. He's 18 years old. You know, we used to say about Chase Hooper being 20 years old, like, oh, he's so young, he's so young. This kid's 2 years younger than him. So I think he's got all the tools to create a great fighter and maybe just go back to the drawing board for a little bit.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think Raul here, he showed a lot of potential, especially in that first round. But if he can take a lot of lessons from this, he can really become a more well-rounded fighter. But overall, UFC 287 was a cracking card and I loved every minute of it. Thank you for watching. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help us out.